it just wasn't it. Alright, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I am gonna be talking about the 30 books that I read in 2022. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first book that we are gonna be talking about is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I heard quite a bit about this book, so I had to read it. I gave this book a 3 stars. I actually thought this book was really cute, but I don't know why it didn't get a high rating for me. It just wasn't something that captivated me enough to give it like 4 or 5 stars. So this book follows Macy and Elliot. Macy is currently a pediatric resident, and she is also recently engaged, and she's currently planning her wedding. And then we have Elliot. Elliot is known to be the love of Macy's life. He is her first and only love. It's been years now, and they run into each other, and you know, Elliot thinks this is fake. So he's like, we need to be together. So basically something happened in the past that made them disconnect, and now they've reconnected, and Elliot just really feels that this is their time to be together. The next book that I have is Every Last Word. It is about a girl named Sam. She's in high school and she suffers from OCD. So Sam is known to be friends with a popular crowd. She's someone that a lot of people know and kind of want to be. She's kind of like that it girl, but she has this secret. She has OCD, and not everyone knows this. They don't know that, you know, she's gonna like check something like 40 times secretly, and she's trying to do it in a way that, you know, people don't notice, so they don't think that she's weird or anything. She even goes to see her therapist a lot. One day she meets this girl, Caroline. So Caroline shows Sam a secret room that's located in the school that nobody really knows about, and this room is known to be like for the misfits, the outcasts of the school, and nobody really knows what it is. And so Caroline leads Sam down to this place in the school. Sam gets introduced to this new group of people. She feels really normal and welcome with them. I think she feels like she doesn't really fully fit in with her friends. Even though she is a part of the popular clique, she doesn't necessarily feel that she belongs in it. So when she meets this new group of people, she's like, oh, okay, like I feel like these are the people that I'm meant to be with. These are the people that I connect with, or these people make me feel normal and make me feel real and comfortable. As the book progresses, you kind of start to figure some things out. There's some questions that come up and you're like, wait, that doesn't really make sense. So when you figure that out, then you kind of get the gist of it, and then you're gonna see Sam kind of questioning herself, like, am I okay? Like, am I crazy? Why am I, you know? I don't know what to say without giving it away, but basically Sam, there's more to Caroline than Sam knows. That's all. So yeah, this book was actually a 5-star read for me. I really enjoyed it. Though it was young adult, I thought that it kind of focused on things in a pretty mature way. So the next book that I have is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. So this book is about Olive and Ethan. So basically Olive and Ethan are they sister-in-law? So basically what happens in this book, Amy is Olive's sister, and she is getting married to Ethan's brother. Honestly, I can't remember his name, but she's getting married to Ethan's brother, and their whole wedding party ends up getting food poisoning except for Olive and Ethan. So suddenly the honeymoon becomes available because they are the only ones that haven't gotten sick. So Amy's like, you have to go, like, I've already put money into this, please go, like, please, you have to. So Ethan goes with her, even though her and Ethan are literally arch enemies. They don't like each other at all. And then it just kind of follows the storyline of them, and it kind of just goes from them like hating each other to, you know, I did really enjoy this book. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty funny, and I did end up rating this book 3 stars, which I think is pretty good. Anything above 2 stars is not bad in my eyes. So the next book that I have is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. The story follows Pip and Ravi. So there's a girl named Andy Bell, and she's allegedly murdered by her boyfriend Sal. And Ravi is actually the brother of Sal. Pip is a girl that needs a storyline for her class, so she decides to do her story on the murder of Andy Bell. Pip ends up really taking the time to interview a bunch of people that she knows were friendly with Andy or friendly with Sal, and then she kind of gets a deeper understanding of, you know, kind of what happened that night. She wants to go back to that night. Who are the people that last saw Andy What do they know about it? How much do they know? Is there anything that could stick out, that could show, or that could prove that Sal really wasn't the one that murdered her? She really gets into that. She puts on her detective hat and she ends up actually solving the murder. Definitely highly recommend it. I know that there are two other books. I do have the second book, Good Girl Bad Blood. I ended up starting it, but I feel like I started it immediately after, and I think I needed to give myself a break. I did end up putting it down. I will definitely try to pick it up some point soon and try and finish the rest of the series. Alright, so the next book that I have is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is like a rom-com, definitely. I loved this book. I thought this book was so funny. I actually like physically laughed out loud when I read this book because there were just so many funny moments for me. About Lucy and Joshua, they do not like each other at all. They both work together in the office, and there's a new position up for grabs, and she's like, I want it, and he's like, well, so do I. So basically they kind of are in a position where they are going head to head a bit, trying to figure out who's gonna get this position. You know what? There actually starts to be a bit of a romance that develops throughout the book, and you guys can kind of see that they definitely do have chemistry. Just a really cute book, a really fun, quick read. It's 363 pages, but honestly, I read this book so fast. All right, now we're gonna go to a book that honestly really upset me. I was hoping that I would really like this book. A lot of people, I've heard nothing but good things about it, but personally it just was not a book for me, and that book is The Love Hypothesis. It's a fake dating trope, and I was like, okay, not my favorite, but I'll read it because it's romance and I love romance. So I was like, okay, we'll kind of see what happens, maybe see if they develop a bit of a relationship here. So Olive is a PhD student right now, and she ends up fake dating a professor. It's not her professor, but he works at the school that she attends, and they end up sparking up this romance because her friends are nagging on her about dating a guy, and she's like, well, I have a boyfriend and it happens to be this professor, and everyone's like, what? Like, you're dating a professor? There's no way. And everyone hates him. Everyone absolutely despises him. They can't even fathom how she's possibly dating this man. It's definitely an interesting read, I will say. It wasn't something that was for me. I believe that I actually rated this book like 2 stars. This book follows Morgan and her daughter Clara, and then we also have Chris, who is Morgan's husband, who actually passes away in an accident, but there's kind of a bit of mystery behind his accident. There's more to the story, so when you read the book, you're going to learn what happened in the accident and kind of more background and who else was involved in the accident, and you learn why Chris was with this person when the accident happened. And there's just like a lot of drama with Morgan and her daughter. Clara doesn't really want to listen to her mom. You know, she's being that typical teenager. She was like, you know, wanting to hang out with boys, not follow her mom, just do whatever she wants to do. And Morgan's like, no, I really want you to not follow my footsteps. This is the book that I have to thank for me getting back into reading and falling so much in love with reading again. I read this book end of September of 2021 actually, but I'm still gonna include it in this video. So the book that I have next is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelis. Book is about Alicia. She is currently in the psych ward. Alicia's husband, Gabriel, comes home from work late one night, and Alicia shoots him in the face 5 times. After that, she never speaks again. Theo is a criminal psychotherapist, and he comes in and talks to Alicia. His job right now is to try and find out what really happened. He works with Alicia. He's trying to get her to talk, trying to see what he can do, what he can say to crack her. What really happened that night? He wants to know. Everybody wants to know. He really wants to unravel the mystery of why she shot her husband. What was the reasoning behind it? Did she shoot her husband? Is there more to the story? He wants to know everything. This book was so good. I read it so quickly. I love this book. I would do anything to read this book again for the first time. Next up, we have another Colleen Hoover book, and it is Ugly Love. I do really like this book. I feel like a lot of people don't like this book because of Miles and his actions, which I can totally understand, but for me, I read this book so quickly I could not put it down. It was just a book that was really, really good in my eyes. So basically, Tate ends up meeting Miles, and there's just something about Miles, you know, they end up having a little bit of a thing going on, but he tells her straight up, like, I don't want a relationship, I'm not looking for a relationship, we can like hook up, whatever,
but that's as far as it's gonna go. Me and you, like, this is not gonna end in marriage.
And she is like, all right, whatever. She doesn't care. Obviously, you know, when that happens, feelings come, right? So she started having some feelings for him. There is definitely a physical attraction between the two of them. That's undeniable. They both can admit it and acknowledge it. It's just, Miles just wants it to stay at that. He doesn't want a relationship with her at all. But when you read the book, you find out why that is. You kind of get some background, you know, his history and why he is the way that he is right now and why he feels the way he feels about relationships right now. And so yeah, I don't know. There's just something about this book that I really, really enjoyed, even though there is a certain part in this book that is just like, I can't believe you said that, Miles. I cannot believe that he said that. But it was still a really good read for me. I enjoyed the ending of the book, and it is definitely a book that I will probably end up reading again. So the next book that I have is, yes, another Colleen Hoover book. It is Verity. This is a book that I saw a lot on TikTok, a lot on YouTube. It was definitely a book that was very, very popular. But basically, this book is about Lowen, who is a struggling author. She is kind of in a bit of a rut, but Jeremy Crawford, who is Verity's husband, hires Lowen because he feels that her writing style is very similar to that of his wife. And his wife is in a position where she's no longer able to finish her books. So he's like, all right, I think that you can take this. I want someone to handle this. I need her books to be finished. So Lowen, I am gonna trust you to finish writing my wife's books. Lowen is now at their house. She gets to look through all of Verity's things and just kind of get a little background, and so she can fully really understand and, like, I guess, bring herself to writing the story. So with all this digging, Lowen ends up finding a manuscript, and this manuscript is secret. It has some very interesting, deep, nasty things in there. And Lowen finds this and she decides, okay, I'm gonna hide this from Jeremy. Kind of near the end of this book, you find out what's really going on with Verity. You get to understand her accident and what happened after it. And it, honestly, I feel like a lot of people say that this book is predictable, but I didn't see it coming. It was a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting that. So it was definitely something that, you know, threw me in for a loop, but I really enjoyed the book. All right, at this point, I'm just gonna go through all my Colleen Hoover books and then we'll move on. So the next Colleen Hoover book that I read is Layla. So this book follows Leeds and Layla, and Leeds is in love with Layla. He's like, this is the girl of my dreams. We're gonna be together forever. And then Layla gets into an accident and, you know, she's kind of recovering, going through a lot right now. You know, it kind of put a strain on their relationship. So Leeds is like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take you. Let's go on a little vacation. It'll be fine. We're gonna go on a little vacation. You're gonna get to release some stress, get to feel like yourself again. I'm gonna, you know, we're just gonna have some alone time to really just connect. So he whisks her away, and then they end up at this Airbnb, and there is a presence in the house. Okay, the presence is Willow. Basically, Willow kind of takes over Layla's body, and he's able to talk to her and communicate with her through Layla's body, but it's not Layla, it's Willow. So I feel like in a sense he was kind of emotionally cheating. It was a bit of an emotional affair. Yeah, so there's just like a lot of mystery in this book. I ended up rating it 4 stars. Wasn't my favorite, but I do think that it's a pretty good read. Okay, so the next Colleen Hoover book that I have is Too Late. This book follows Sloane and Asia.
Asia? I'm really not sure.
Sloane is basically a girl that's been through a lot. She lives with her boyfriend. Asia is pretty much just a really crappy boyfriend. He does not treat her well at all, but she's kind of in a really poor financial situation. She can't afford to live without him. If she were to leave him, he would pretty much destroy her, so she stays there. Carter is this new guy that kind of comes into her life, and I love Carter. I really do. I really liked him. He's trouble, okay? He's not trouble in a bad sense. He's trouble for Asia, as in there's competition here because Sloane is interested in this guy, and this guy is someone that could, you know, kind of come between their relationship. It's definitely a book that, I think it's a book that Colleen Hoover wrote, you know, like before she was really popular. So this just isn't one of the books that everyone's raving about right now, but I really enjoyed it, and I definitely think that it is a good read, so I definitely recommend reading it. What that I have is Confess. My stack fell. So the next book that I have is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This book follows Auburn and Owen. Owen is the owner of an art gallery. Basically, people can come to his art gallery and they can write confessions, and these confessions get turned into art by Owen. You get to see some of the art pieces that he makes, and it's really, really cool. Like this page right here. Auburn's looking for a job. She ends up at Owen's art gallery, and then that's kind of how they meet, and then it goes on from there, and then they start to, there's a romance that sparks between them. I feel like their chemistry was okay. It wasn't amazing. The next book that I have is In 5 Years. I hated this book. I did not like this book at all. I think it had a lot of potential to be a good book, but it just was not it for me. This book is about Danny, and she just got a job interview, and then after that her boyfriend proposes to her. Well, after this proposal, she wakes up and something isn't right. She's in a different apartment, she has a different ring on her finger, and she's not even next to a boyfriend that proposed to her the night before. So basically she spends 1 hour 5 years into the future. So when she wakes up the next morning after her proposal, she is 5 years into the future, and her life is completely different. It's nothing like what she has planned out in this current moment, you know. So
she wakes up and she's like, well, what's going on? This is not my man, this is not my ring, and I don't live here, so what's going on?
I think this book had so much potential, but the ending of it just completely threw me off, and I didn't like it at all, and I thought it was pretty stupid. These are the last physical copy Colleen Hoover books that I have. I'm just gonna quickly go through them. So first we have All Your Perfects. So this book is about Quinn and Graham, and it's kind of just going through, like, it's a then now POV, and it's talking about their relationship back then versus it now. Quinn and Graham are in different relationships when this book starts. They end up meeting, they find out that their partners have cheated on them with each other, and that's kind of how they meet, and then they end up having a relationship. We go and jump into the future. Their relationship is kind of going through a rough patch. They're going through some things, and it's just not what it was when they initially got together. So that is what happens here. I actually really enjoyed this book. I think I rated it a 4 stars. Actually no, I ended up rating this book a 5 stars. So honestly, I don't really remember too much of it, but apparently it was good enough for me to give it 5 stars, so I would say read it. I have It Ends With Us. I feel like everyone and their mother knows about this book. So this book is about Lily and Ryle. I would definitely say it is not a book to read if you are maybe under the age of like 14. There's some pretty intense graphic stuff that happens. Lily's from a small town. She's graduated college. She ends up moving to Boston, and she runs into Ryle. Ryle is an amazing neurosurgeon. He's like loaded, right? They meet on the top of a rooftop, and then there ends up being chemistry. They end up getting together, and then things kind of fall apart. She pretty much ends up finding out that Ryle is, you know, very aggressive and assertive and just not exactly who she thought he was. But, you know, it's kind of far too late. They're already far into the relationship. They end up getting married. She starts thinking about Atlas, and Atlas is her first love. They knew each other when they were little. I think they were like in high school together, and then he ends up moving away. She never speaks to him again, kind of forgets about him. But now with everything that's going on with Ryle, she's like, like, I kind of start thinking about Atlas. She ends up seeing Atlas. Atlas is now in a very different place than when she initially met him. He's successful, he has his own restaurant going on, he has a lot going on for himself, and she ends up seeing him, and she's like, wow, like, I may still have feelings for this guy. So you kind of get to see that and see how he reacts to that and what happens between her and Atlas. I am team Atlas. I don't care. I don't want to hear anything. Honestly, genuinely, from the moment that I read this book, I knew that I was gonna like Atlas. I did not care about Ryle at all. There was never a part of me that was like, yeah, like I'm gonna be team Ryle, because I just knew that something was wrong with him. I knew it, and I was right. So yeah, team Atlas. I don't care, and that's why I couldn't wait for It Starts With Us, because I couldn't wait to see what happened with Atlas, because I just knew that he was amazing. So we have It Starts With Us. I literally pre-ordered this book immediately as soon as I could, and I had it waiting, and I could not wait to read this book, and I read it as soon as I got it. I enjoyed being able to finally get to know more about Atlas, because he was definitely someone, like, as I said, he was someone that I knew that I was going to like right off the bat, and I did, and I just wanted more of his storyline. I wanted more of their connection because I knew that there was an instant chemistry between them, and it was still there. I think so. I think the storyline was good. Do I think it was amazing? I gave it a 4 stars. It just wasn't 5 stars for me. The next book that I have is Without Merit. This book follows the whole Voss family. Merit is basically the main person, obviously. Merit ends up meeting this guy named Sagan, and their whole storyline and romance kind of plays out in the book. It was an okay book. It wasn't my favorite book. I genuinely I wasn't crazy about it, but I did read it pretty fast. So I feel like any Colleen Hoover book I read, I will read quickly. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. But yeah, so I definitely recommend reading it, but it wasn't something that absolutely amazed me, but whatever. Okay, next I have Heartbones. I love this book. Look at the cover. It's just beautiful. I've read this book very quickly. I gave this book 5 stars. I love this book. 2 pieces. It's about Bea and Samson. Bea's like dirt poor, lives in a trailer. Her mom, not amazing. She's pretty awful, honestly. She gets this opportunity to go stay with her father. Her father lives in an amazing beach house. Basically the complete polar opposite of her life right now when she's living with her mom. She goes to live with her dad, and it's amazing. She ends up meeting Samson. Samson is just someone she's immediately drawn to. They have this attraction from the start, and she meets him through her stepsister. So Samson and her actually are neighbors, and they end up spending a lot of time together because they have the same friend group, and you kind of get to find out Samson definitely has more to him than people think. Please, please, please go read Heartbones. All right, these are the last 3 physical books that I have, and then I'm going to move on to the books that I read on my Kindle. So we have this book that I'm pretty sure literally everyone knows about, The Summer I Turned Pretty. This book is about Belly, Conrad, Jeremiah, a couple other people, whatever. Belly, her brother, her mom always go to see Susan and her boys in Cousins Beach. So they go for the summer, and Belly's all grown up this year. Boys have never really had an interest in her, but this summer she looks different. There's something a little bit different about her, and suddenly Conrad and Jeremiah are interested in her. So goes through that whole storyline. You're gonna be like, okay, are you team Conrad or are you team Jeremiah? Personally, I am team Conrad. Okay, so the next book that I have is The Deal by Elle Kennedy. I really love this book. Hannah and Garrett are in college, and Hannah's really smart. She does well in school. She is like a tutor if you need one. Graham definitely needs one. He is part of the hockey team, and his grades are slipping and he needs good grades, obviously. He ends up asking Hannah to tutor him. She's like, absolutely not. She ends up finally being like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll tutor you. A romance starts, of course, because duh. There's just an undeniable connection between the two of them, and they end up getting together, and I just think it's a really cute, fun read. The next book that I have is The Mistake. So this book follows John Logan and Grace. Grace is a freshman, John Logan is a junior, I believe. This book was good too. I did end up rating it at 3 stars. I think The Deal just set the bar really high for me. Right, so now we are gonna move on to the books that I read on my Kindle. Okay, so the first book that I read is Hopeless. This book is about Sky and Holder. Sky has been homeschooled her whole life, and she's just kind of been locked up. Her mom doesn't really allow her to do much. She can't have technology or really like do anything that would involve her like being a typical teenager, basically. Sky ends up convincing her mom to let her go to school. She goes to school, she meets this guy named Holder. Literally, like right off the bat, she ends up being involved in a bunch of rumors. People are talking about her, and it's just, you know, not the great high school experience. She ends up meeting Holder, and then you kind of get to see how their relationship plays out. The next couple of books that I have are from a series. The series I will put here. Yeah, so I read that series and it was really good. The 4th book actually ended up being the book that I thought was my favorite. I gave it a 4 stars. Honestly, I read them all back to back. They were all super short, really good reads. I definitely recommend reading this series. And then I ended up reading 1,000 Boy Kisses. I thought that this book was honestly really immature. I did not love it. So this book is about Rune and Poppy, and it kind of goes through their little like immature adolescent romance. It wasn't amazing for me. I think I gave this book like a 2 or 3. No, yep, I ended up rating this book 2 stars. Oh, I also read Reminders of Him. This book is about Kenna and Ledger. Kenna's the mother to a 4-year-old girl. She ends up, you know, spending some time away from her daughter. She was in jail for a while. She's like, I have to come back and I need to get my daughter. So she goes back to the town that she's kind of like been shunned from. and she meets Ledger, and then her and Ledger, you know, Ledger finds out who she is and he despises her initially. But you know what, then he's actually like, okay, you know what, I don't actually know this girl, let me get to know her side of things. It's to kind of figure out what happened with her and why things happened the way they did. Something kind of sparks with them, and yeah, it was a pretty good read for me. Then I have Birthday Girl. This book follows Jordan. Jordan has a boyfriend, and you know, they end up moving in with her boyfriend's dad, and then her and the dad kind of end up having this inappropriate relationship. It's a bit disturbing, honestly. It was a 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I wasn't in love with it. Then I read the It Happened in Nashville series. I read both of the books, and both of the books were pretty good. They were quick reads for me. Honestly, I feel like when I read on my Kindle, I read really quickly. You know, it wasn't anything deep. It was just like a cute, fun little story. The last book that I'm going to be talking about is Punk 57. I gave this book 2 stars. I did not love it at all. Yeah, honestly, this book was just really hyped up on Booktok, so I gave it a read, but I did not vibe with it at all. Those are all the books that I read in 2022. Honestly, it wasn't a ton of books. I feel like it kind of seemed long. Maybe I just talk a lot, but yeah, that's okay. My 2023 goal is to read more books, and I know people say, like, you know, don't compare how many books you read to the other people, but I do feel like I definitely could have read more books. I did fall into a lot of book slumps in 2022, so my goal for 2023 is to keep pushing myself to read. Bye.
Why you be all in your feelings, making me look like a villain when I thought we was just chilling?